Daily life in ancient Egypt was deeply rooted in agriculture. The fertile land along the Nile River provided the foundation for one of the most prosperous civilizations of the ancient world. Let's explore a typical day in the life of an ancient Egyptian farmer, illustrating the routines, responsibilities, and cultural practices that defined their existence. Morning routine. The day began early for an ancient Egyptian farmer, often before the sun rose. The morning air was cool and the Nile's waters shimmered in the pre-dawn light. Farmers typically lived in modest mud brick houses with thatched roofs, located in villages close to the fields they tended. Before heading out, the farmer would perform a series of morning rituals. These included washing and praying to the gods for a bountiful harvest. The Egyptians were deeply religious, and invoking the favor of deities such as Osiris, the god of agriculture, was believed to be essential for success in their labor. Breakfast was a simple affair, often consisting of bread made from emmer wheat, onions, and sometimes beer, a staple in the Egyptian diet. The bread, baked in clay ovens, was coarse and sometimes gritty due to the presence of sand in the flour. Heading to the fields. As the sun rose, casting a golden hue across the landscape, an ancient Egyptian farmer and his family would head to the fields. The journey through the village included brief exchanges with neighbors, highlighting their community spirit. Upon arrival, the farmer inspected and cleared irrigation channels to ensure a steady water flow from the Nile, essential for their crops. The fields were meticulously divided into plots, each designated for different crops to optimize growth. The family worked together with specific roles. Men handled heavy tasks like plowing and sowing, while women and children assisted with planting, weeding, and tending to smaller plants. This division of labor ensured efficiency, with children learning through hands-on experience. The rhythm of the Nile guided their work, with breaks in the shade to share simple meals and drinks. Prayers and offerings to Hapi, the god of the Nile, were common, seeking his favor for a bountiful harvest. As the day ended and the sun set, the farmer and his family gathered their tools and returned to the village. The journey home was filled with reflections on the day's work and anticipation of evening rest and communal activities. The setting sun over the fields symbolized the enduring bond between the people and the land they cultivated, representing the harmony between human effort, natural cycles, and divine favor, sustaining their families and the entire civilization of ancient Egypt. Working the fields. Once the irrigation channels were set, the ancient Egyptian farmer and his family began the labor-intensive process of working the fields. Men used wooden plows pulled by oxen to break up the soil, creating furrows for planting seeds. Women and children followed behind, sowing seeds of wheat, barley, flax, and other essential crops into the freshly plowed earth. The younger children, often tasked with chasing away birds and pests, learned the importance of protecting the crops from a young age. Throughout the day, the farmer and his family engaged in weeding and thinning the plants to ensure that the crops had enough space and nutrients to grow. This hands-on care was vital for a successful harvest. Breaks in the shade provided relief from the heat, where they shared simple meals and drank water from clay pots, offering moments of rest and socialization amidst the hard work. In the peak growing season, the farmer closely monitored the crops, adjusting water levels and checking for signs of disease or pest infestations. They used rudimentary tools and natural remedies to address these issues, relying on knowledge passed down through generations. This constant vigilance and care were crucial in securing a good yield, which directly impacted the family's livelihood and the community's well-being. Midday Break. As the sun reached its zenith and the heat became intense, work slowed down. The midday meal, taken in the shade, provided a much-needed break. This meal typically included bread, more onions, and sometimes fish or lentils. Beer was consumed to quench thirst and provide additional sustenance. Afternoon tasks. As the sun climbed higher, casting long shadows across the fields, the farmer and his family continued their work with a shift in focus towards various afternoon tasks. One critical activity was the maintenance of the irrigation systems. The farmer inspected the channels, clearing any debris that might obstruct the flow of water. This task ensured that every part of the field received adequate hydration, crucial for the growth of healthy crops. In addition to irrigation maintenance, the afternoon was also a time for tending to livestock. The farmer checked on the oxen that had plowed the fields in the morning, ensuring they were fed and watered. Goats, sheep, and chickens also required attention, with the children often tasked with feeding and herding these animals. The livestock not only provided essential resources like milk, meat, and eggs, but also manure for fertilizing the crops. The family also engaged in secondary agricultural activities. Women and older children might collect herbs and wild plants from the field edges or nearby areas, which could be used for cooking, medicinal purposes, or traded in the local market. This diversification of tasks ensured that every available resource was utilized, maximizing the productivity of their farming efforts. These varied activities highlighted the farmers' adaptability and resourcefulness, essential traits for sustaining their livelihood in ancient Egypt. Social and cultural activities. As evening approached, the farmers' work in the fields would end, but social and cultural activities began. The family would return home, where they might gather with neighbors for communal meals or participate in local religious ceremonies. Festivals and feasts were common, often aligned with agricultural cycles and religious observances. Storytelling, music, and games were popular forms of entertainment. Ancient Egyptians played senet, a board game, and enjoyed music played on instruments such as harps and flutes. These activities reinforced community bonds and provided a respite from the day's hard labor. Evening and night. Dinner was similar to the other meals of the day, but might include more variety, such as legumes, vegetables, and occasionally meat. After dinner, the family would engage in evening prayers, thanking the gods for the day's labor and seeking protection for the night. Sleep came early for the farmer and his family, as the cycle of life demanded another early start the next day. Beds were simple wooden frames with woven mats, and blankets made from linen provided warmth.